Remember the gutters, the roof, being their human ladder since age 10? Well, forget everything you think you know about negligence. Because what happened to my 2-year-old sister wasn't just criminal, it was a symptom, and symptoms always point to a disease. But before I show you the autopsy report that changed everything, you need to understand what watching really means when you're 14 and nobody believes you exist. Picture this, it's a Saturday afternoon that smells like chlorine and regret. I'm 14, finally bigger than the kitchen table, finally old enough to know better. And my mother drops the bomb with that sing-song voice she uses for company. Watch Alicia for a bit, sweetie. Mommy needs to rest. Stepdaddy wants to play his game. Mark and I exchange looks. We're not stupid. We know what rest means. We know what happens when that bedroom door locks. But we're also 14 and 11, old enough to follow orders, young enough to still hope that obedience equals love. So we watch, but not really. Because watching a 2-year-old while your mother sleeps and your stepfather games, that's not parenting. That's babysitting with plausible deniability. And we weren't allowed to actually watch her, no. We had to sit in the living room, ears straining, listening for the crash that never came, while the real monitor sat in their bedroom, door cracked just enough to pretend supervision. 2 hours, maybe 3. The sun starts setting and suddenly, panic. Where's Alicia? My mother's voice, sharp as broken glass. She bursts from the bedroom, hair wild, eyes already calculating damage control. Stepdad's right behind her, controller still in hand, shirt untucked. And me? I'm already standing. Because here's what 14 years in that house taught me. The missing child isn't the emergency. The parents' reaction is, Mark and I scatter like we're guilty, which in their eyes we always are. Through the kitchen, past my real father visiting for the weekend, making a sandwich, burning his hand on the stove when the screaming starts. He doesn't know yet. He thinks the panic is about the burn. We don't check the pool. Let me repeat that. We don't check the pool. Because children who've been trained to fear water, they didn't learn to swim in, who've been punished near water for splashing too loud. We don't think drowning. We think hiding. We think nap. We think we're about to get beaten for not watching her properly. So we search the garage, rummaging through lawn tools while our mother finds Alicia on the deck, blue, silent, 2 years old, and the sound she makes, it isn't a mother's grief, it's a projector malfunctioning, wrong input, wrong channel, still trying to perform for an audience that stopped watching years ago. CPR, oh God, the performance of it. My stepfather, suddenly paternal, suddenly urgent, pumping that tiny chest like he's trying to start a lawnmower. My mother, theatrical tears, already weaving the narrative. She slipped. She must have slipped. We were right there. We were watching her every second. But I was watching them. I saw my stepfather's hands shake, not with grief, but with rehearsal, checking for witnesses before committing to the act. I saw my mother's eyes flick to the pool gate, unlatched, then back to me, calculating. And my real father, he drags us inside, protecting us, he thinks, from the horror, from the truth. But he should have been protecting us from them. Alicia didn't survive. The plug pulled that night with clinical efficiency. But here's what nobody caught in the chaos, what I caught. Because while they were performing grief for the EMTs, I was collecting evidence. The pool gate, wide open. The accident that waited for Grandma to leave. The way my stepfather's alibi crumbled when the police asked why both adults were napping while a toddler accessed a swimming pool unsupervised. And my mother? Mistake number 2. She looked at me that night, really looked, and saw something that hadn't been there before. Not a victim, not a son, a witness who had been watching since age 10. But the autopsy report, it said accidental drowning, case closed, family destroyed. My father took Mark and vanished into the grief, and I was left alone in that house of horrors with 2 people who knew I knew, and that's when the real waiting began. Because revenge isn't hot when it's accident. Revenge needs intent. And I have 13 months of documentation, photos, timestamps, bank records showing the remodeling that never happened, and a single recording. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Part 3 drops tomorrow. And trust me, that recording doesn't just bury them, it resurrects.